Students, hi, this is Mr. Bob. In this video, I'm going to walk through what's called a net price calculator, which by law, every college needs to have and provide access to students so that students can enter some financial information and get a rough estimate about how much the college might cost them per year. So we're going to walk through this information for a fictitious student and their family that I completely made up. And we're going to do it for two colleges. We're going to do it for Portland State University and we're going to do it for Oregon State University. And by doing so, we're just going to, again, get a very general sense that this student and family could use to just kind of get a rough idea of what attending that school would cost them. Now, I want to urge you that a lot of these net price calculators can be different for different universities. Some offer more detail than others, as you'll see. And I don't think that you should disqualify yourself from any school just on the basis of the outcome of a net price calculator. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it, and all these calculators have disclaimers at the front that tell students and families to not assume that this is what would actually happen if they would apply in terms of financial aid package, but that it can just be like one measuring stick. And I wholeheartedly agree. You have no idea what sort of scholarships, merit, or need-based scholarships you might qualify for. And also, as we've talked about, there are also outside scholarships that you could probably get that hopefully would defray the cost. But let's get started. So the best way I've found to get to these net price calculators is simply to go on Google and then type in some keywords. So for example, for Portland State University, I would type into Google, Portland State University net price calculator. Now, before I click on the first link, I just want to look through these because notice down here, there's one that says collegeraptor.com. I want to stay away from links that have .com on the end because though they might be useful, a lot of times they just have a lot of ads and aren't actually put out by the universities themselves. So you want to make sure that you're at the university's website. And a good way to look at that is to make sure that you see the university URL. So this first link says pdx.edu, and that tells me that this is from Portland State University's website, and it says Portland State University's net price calculator. So I'm going to click on that, and notice I get to this site. It says Portland State University net price calculator. I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but what I'm going to tell you it basically says is that this is an estimate, it's not a guarantee, and this is estimating what it would have cost a student or what similar students to the person that enters this information, similar students, what they paid, what their families paid in the 2017-2018 school year. So I'm going to click agree and continue. And from there, it's going to send me to this page where I'm going to start entering information. Now, again, I'm just going to make up this information about this family. And we're going to apply the same information to Portland State and to Oregon State to see how this comes out. So do you plan to apply for financial aid? Yes. How old are you? I'm going to say the student is 18. I'm going to say they plan to live on campus and they are an Oregon resident, so they are eligible for in-state tuition. I click continue. I'm going to assume the student is not married and that they are not the primary source of financial support for any children. Click continue. And we're going to assume the student is part of a family of 4. Okay, so there's 4 people. And this is an important thing to get right when you do this for yourself, but I'm going to assume this student is the only person in that household that will be in college next year. So I'm going to click 1 for that. Notice this asks for the annual household income after taxes, and it tells you that it's income including income earned by yourself and your parents, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to assume this family of 4 makes $50,000 a year. So we're going to type in or click the choice here between $50,000 to $59,999 a year. I'm going to click continue. Notice it allows me to review this information. If I want to modify anything, I click this modify button, but I don't. I'm going to click continue. And lo and behold, we can see here that based on the information that I entered, it looks like the total cost of attendance, the sticker price is a little over $25,000, and that's broken down for you. It looks like a student in 2017, 2018 with similar financials would have gotten about $8,200 in financial aid per year in terms of scholarships and grants from federal, state, and local governments. So when you subtract these two numbers, you get what's called the net price, which this is listed to be a little over $17,000 a year. Now, again, I just want to emphasize, and they emphasize a bunch of stuff here, this is simply an estimate. You should not disqualify yourself or think that you're going to get that's what you're going to pay. But it is a helpful sort of starting point for you to begin to have conversations with your family and with others. So you would want to maybe write that information down, or maybe you want to go back and try and get more specific information. And also, one thing you can do that I just want to show you here really quickly, I'm going to go back through this. I'm going to show you if you have a sibling that's going to be in college at the same time, for example. Notice I put 2 here, and that's the only thing I've changed. It didn't change that much. That's interesting. Oftentimes it changes quite a bit if you have more than one sibling, if you have more than one person in the household going to college at the same time. Okay, so that's Portland State. Now let's go ahead and open another tab. We're going back to Google, and now we're going to do Oregon State University net price calculator. And again, I want to look at these URLs. Notice it says oregonstate.edu, net price calculator, financial aid, Oregon State University. I'm going to click on that. And so this is a little more sophisticated. It looks like I can actually create an account. If you want to do that, go for it. We're just going to, for this purpose, this activity, we're going to continue as a guest. And notice I already have more information to fill out. So state of residency, Oregon, yes. Zip code, I'm just going to put our school zip code. I'm going to say this student is a US citizen. I'm going to say that they are not independent, meaning they depend on their parents for resources. Housing status, we're going to assume the student's living on campus. Again, number of people in the household, 4. If I want to change that, I could, but let's just keep it the same. Parents are married. Notice this requires you to enter the GPA. I'm going to assume this student has a 3.50 GPA. How many family members, including the student, will be enrolled in college at the same time? Notice I could pick any number here. I'm going to stick with 1. Number of working parents in the student's household. Let's say both parents work. Let's say you want to go to the Corvallis University, or this student does. And notice, have you or will you complete the FAFSA? This is really important. I would say yes, on or before February 28th. Transferred to Oregon State from another college, no. IB diploma, I'm going to assume the student is not completing an IB diploma. And notice down here, financial data, this gives you some options. Anywhere from no financial data to full family financial data. Notice this full family and financial data is about 70 questions. Okay, and that will give you a more accurate estimate if you take the time to do that. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to say limited family and financial data, which, well, let me just show you. If I click down here, this becomes a lot of information, a lot more. But limited family financial data just basically allows me to answer these 5 questions, and then it'll give me an EFC. So parents' total income, remember we said $50,000, so I'm going to put that in. This also asks for parents' total assets. I'm going to assume this family has $10,000 in saving. Again, I'm just making that number up. Students' total income. Let's say maybe that student does work a job during the summer and they earn about $500. And let's say maybe the student doesn't have any savings though. How much do the student and family plan to pay out of pocket for college? For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to say less than $500. If you wanted to put more information in there, that might be interesting. Notice this gives you an estimated EFC. Remember, you did the if you did the FAFSA forecaster, that gave you an EFC for 1 to 100 numbers. This also provides you an estimated EFC, but that's not the net price calculator. You have to go down here, and this one's a little tricky because notice if you want to share my information with Oregon State, then you have to answer all this information. But click here, see it says do not share my information. Click on that, and then that'll allow you to submit. And here it is, it's calculating the net price. Okay, here we go. Now let's just take a look at this. This again breaks down the sticker price, which is just over $29,000 a year. This breaks down the grants and scholarships they estimate that you will get. Notice you're getting a Pell Grant, or I shouldn't say you, this student is getting a Pell Grant, Oregon Opportunity Grant, and a Finley Academic Scholarship, which is based on their grades, I believe. So notice the 10,000, if you take the almost 11,000, subtract it from the 29,000, you get about a little over $18,000 or $18,500. That's the net price. And then obviously they offer you some options on how to pay it, and they start talking about the WUI, et cetera, et cetera. Again, for the purpose of this video, now we've gone through 2 colleges, Portland State University and Oregon State University, entered a little bit of information, got a rough net price of what it might cost, or what it did cost a family and a student of a certain profile recently. But again, this is mainly meant for a starting point for conversations for you to have with your parents, your counselor, your AVID teacher, et cetera, and not necessarily a definitive thing that you want to then use definitively in any sort of decision-making process. Okay, I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you very much.